Hi friends. We decided we were going to make a video to keep us accountable to the last 24 hours that, rather the first 24 hours of our experience being full-time RVers. So most of you guys know that we sold our home. We bought an RV. We had some wonderful people renovate one for us into what we call our house on wheels. And anyway, this is kind of our experience over the last 24 hours. So the day definitely had a rough start, or the week did rather. We were supposed to leave Sunday, and the kids and I are sick. We're COVID negative, flu negative, strep negative, but everyone was sick. And so we kept pushing it back a couple of days, hoping all of us would feel well. We're still not 100%, but we're better than we were over the weekend. So that was kind of the first little rocky start to leaving. Kind of took the wind out of our sails that we were leaving late and things were going as planned, but we persevered and we went ahead with preparing everything to leave for Tuesday. So we were moving in, everything was going really well. And then Tuesday, we went through our checklist. Grant did almost everything on the outside. I was responsible for the inside. Made sure everything was picked. So our RV, or our fifth wheel, has what's called 4 slide outs, meaning there are 4 parts of the RV that expand to create more room when you're parked and set up, but before you travel and move the RV, have to be pushed in, so that everything is equal and balanced and can travel easily. So we have 4 of those. It's a really big, the camera stop. It's a really big RV. So anyway, we were getting ready to go, pushed everything in, cleaned everything up, and started to pull in all the slides. The first couple of slides went great.
We thought we pushed everything in.
We thought we pushed everything in. And then when the final slide, the largest slide that we have, which is the main living area, which contains
behind us
what we're sitting on, our eating area, our living room, our kitchen. I left a door open. There's a door that leads from the kitchen into the kids' room and Grant's office. And it became very evident, and as I was standing inside, that something was not right immediately. And the loud cracking that I heard, plus the door basically buckling off of the hinges, was enough to send us into total meltdown mode. I was screaming over the walkie-talkie for Grant to stop doing the slide, and the slide, which happens to be on an electric hydraulic, actually stopped on its own. Probably a fail-safe feature in the event that you leave a door or some sort of obstacle in the way. It stopped, and so we knew the door immediately was broken and was going to have to come off. But we weren't sure whether or not the slides would be working. There was a weird angle to the slide that stopped coming in, and so anyway, we immediately called the wonderful people that renovated the RV for us and asked their opinion and asked them what to do, because we were terrified. I was in tears. Grant looked like he was going to throw up, and so they helped us. We figured out how to do the slides finally. After thinking they were broken, there's a sequence to how the slides come in, which one goes first, second, and third and fourth. And so once we figured that out, everything worked. So off to a very rocky start. We no longer have that door, but it is the only door we don't have. We have other doors. So anyway, that was pretty rough. We go ahead.
And then got on the road. Okay.
Yeah. We're excited to take off.
Yeah, we went and practiced parking a little bit in a lot before we left Memphis. That went okay.
Yeah, it went pretty well. We didn't feel as sick to our stomach.
Yeah.
Once we practiced parking a couple times and felt like we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and then started heading over here. And then shortly before we got here, luckily just a few miles before we got here, we started getting a bunch of
signals from the truck.
Yeah, saying that the RV was disconnected and that there was a wiring sensor issue. So our last several miles into our campsite, we were without brakes, without signals,
Blinkers.
lights, all that fun stuff.
Basically anything that tells the people behind your giant RV that you're stopping or turning or any of those things, which we didn't really even realize at first.
Yeah.
I think we probably went maybe at least an hour, don't you? Having those issues and not really knowing it. It was kind of a rough drive. We drove on a lot of like roads that were under development and stuff like that, so under construction. So I think we thought that maybe the electrical notifications we were getting from the truck regarding the disconnection. Grant got out a couple of times and looked to see if there was anything wrong, and there was nothing that was obviously wrong with the hitch or with the electrical connection. So we just thought, okay, the rough road is signaling to the truck that the connection is not good. Probably should have investigated a little bit further. So anyway, I'll let you continue with
that. So we got in safely, but no lights, no brakes. And at this point, it was getting fairly dark. And just so happens that the slot that we were given was not a very good one. Definitely not meant for a rig of our size.
And we're literally up in the Ouachita National Forest campground. So there's no lights. You're on a lake. It's not an RV park per se. I mean, there is RV camping, but we're up in a campground. It's completely shaded and covered by trees, so there's no lights. Like once it gets dark, it goes from light to dark immediately. There's nothing gradual about it. It goes from daylight to dark, pitch black immediately.
Yeah. So, long story short, we couldn't end up parking it ourselves. We pulled over a couple of spots from us, and was just sort of sitting there. I got on the phone with the hotel. We were pretty defeated. We're just gonna book a couple of nights, and just figure it out. Maybe come back in the morning and try again. But as we were doing that, luckily a nice, wonderful fellow camper came over. Veteran truck driver was making it look super easy and making us look really dumb.
Just got in the driver's side with me and the kids in the car. Just hopped in and said, "Hey, I'm gonna park your RV for you."
So he whipped it in, pitch black, no problem. Pretty much with zero guidance.
Not in the space.
Not in our space.
Not in the space that we were supposed to be in, which was this tiny little, sharply angled space that. I mean, I don't think we could get in it. And honestly, I think if we had been able to successfully back into it, I don't think we could have opened our slides. There were a lot of little bitty tiny trees around it. It was super narrow. So aside from the angle being really, really sharp, I just don't think we could have even expanded our camper. So the guy that saw us parked right there happened to be a little spot right behind where we had kind of pulled over, in the front of where you enter to go to RV sites.
Yeah.
And he backed us into one that we were closest to.
Yeah, so we got back in one, not knowing if we could stay there for more than the night.
Right.
Luckily, we were past, it was pretty late, and we were past check-in, so we weren't worried about last night. But we thought we may have to move this thing in the next day or so, and that would be very unfortunate. So we get in, we get everything plugged up for the most part. Skipped a couple of steps, didn't level it from side to side, but got everything hooked up.
Kids and I this is all going on about 10 p.m.
Yeah.
The kids and I are in the truck. The kids are exhausted, hungry, wired, still sick.
Yeah.
Every time I got out of the truck to see if Grant needed any help, they would scream. It was very high stress.
Yeah.
Situation.
So we got everything hooked up, and we start pushing the slides out so we can set up for the night. And we had a drawer in our bedroom attached next to one of the slides that had come out. So luckily, I think we're okay. But the slide definitely almost broke the drawer off. and we had to go a little bit back and forth with the slide, and I think we're in good shape. We'll know for sure when we pull it in. So on pins and needles for that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the way the RV was renovated, they're great. All of the doors and drawers have a little, what do you call it, like a little latch on it, basically, where when it's pushed in, it doesn't, I mean, you can tug and pull it out, but it basically locks it into place. So I don't know if it was just the rough drive that made it kind of pop open, or if the movement of the slide itself. I'm not really sure, but yeah, all of a sudden I looked over and Grant was opening all the slides, and I saw one that looked like it was not opening at the top at all, but it opened on the bottom. So again, it was
yeah. So got the kids in, trying to get them to sit down while we figure that out. Find out that our internet's not working, which is not great because I'm still working every day and need internet for that. So yeah, I mean, kids. We finally got the kids in bed. We finally got the slide fixed. About midnight, I think we got in bed, went to sleep.
Barely went to sleep. I think we both took Benadryl just so we could calm down enough to go to sleep.
But definitely having major panic attacks about the morning, what would come from that. But today's been a much better day.
Today has been a good day. We
found out we could stay here for the rest of the week.
Right.
So we're not having to move. So that's
right.
good.
That's right.
We find out why our RV wiring went bad. I assume maybe we cut too sharp or something. But the way that our cable is over the bed of the truck, which is not recommended, but just how the truck is set up right now, basically cut through a couple of the wires in our 7-way connector. Somebody, another wonderful soul out here, former electrician, stopped by, and literally as I'm getting off of a conference call, I come out to check and see how things are going and what I can possibly make any headway on, and he's out there just fixing it. So I come out and he's basically like, I almost got you all fixed up, you're good to go.
I drove into Crystal Springs with the kids to go to Walmart to get a few things, and Grant called me to tell me that things were going okay, and that he just got off a conference call from work, and that he needed to go because there were people outside that were fixing our electrical problem, and he wanted to make sure he could help assist them with our electrical problem. So if nothing else, I will say that the thing that really turned it around, other than obviously finding a solution to the issues that we've had magically, luckily, is that everyone that we've met so far here has just been the nicest, kindest. Everyone has been wonderful. And this morning when I went out with the kids and drinking some coffee, just letting them run around and burn off some energy, everyone kind of moseyed out of their RV and admitted that when we pulled in with our giant fifth wheel RV, that they all kind of crawled into their RV because they knew when they saw ours there was no way we were going to be able to back into that spot. And so I think apparently that spot is kind of notorious for, which is probably why it was available for larger RVs and just having difficulty getting into that spot. So,
but yeah, today's been good, and the kids had a blast, and we went and hung out in the playground and by the lake, and
it's beautiful here.
Yeah, so be here till the end of the weekish. And then heading into Texas.
Yep, sounds good. So that's kind of how our first 24 hours went.
Can only go uphill from here.
Can only go up from here. Very eventful. Still feeling very grateful, and we were defeated feeling last night, but we feel, I think, rejuvenated and happy with how things went today, and so gonna keep moving on. We'll keep everybody posted with how it goes.
Yeah.